And welcome back to the channel here at ayudarte International Academy. It's Teacher Carl here, and in today's lesson we're going to look at asking for and giving personal information. Now, there are many different situations where we may need to ask someone or we may need to give our own personal information. It may be a formal setting if you're in a bank or applying for a job, or it could be an informal setting, maybe you're at a party or some kind of social event or a club. Either way, we're going to have certain key elements of the vocabulary absolutely nailed in order for us to successfully ask for or to give our personal details. So first of all, we're going to need to know our address. We're going to have a good grasp of our numbers. Things like our address, our telephone number are going to include numbers. We're going to need to know what our cell phone number is. Now, this is very, very important. Next, you might be asked about your marital status. Marital status refers to whether you are single, whether you are engaged, or whether you are married. And finally, hobbies. You're gonna need to know how to express what you enjoy doing and what you have an interest in. So let's have a look. I've split it up into two sides to make it easier for us to work with. So on this side, we have asking, and this side, we have giving personal information. So firstly, now depending on the scenario, if you are in a formal scenario, you're very likely to be asked for your surname first. Now, your surname is your family name. In America and England, people usually only have a first name and a surname. Giving middle names is not really a very common occurrence. So you wouldn't be asked for your surname. And to reply, quite simply, my surname is Horgan. What is your first name? So your first name is very self-explanatory, the name that people know you by. My first name is Carl. Then you may be asked where you are from, or where do you live? Now, can we remember there is a slight difference in these questions? Where are you from is the country that you were born in and spent most of your younger years. Where do you live? Well, that could be a completely different place altogether. So for me, if somebody was to ask where am I from, I would say I'm from England. But if they were to ask me where do I live, the answer would be different because I live in Mexico. Now, this question can be a little bit confusing because in grammatical sense, it doesn't really make sense. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do at night? What do you do at the weekend? What do you do when your grandmother comes round for dinner? Well, it doesn't mean any of those things. If an English-speaking person asks you quite simply, what do you do? They're talking about your work, your job, your profession, or your career. So if you hear this question, what do you do? Remember, it's about your work and it's about your job and not what you do when your grandma comes over for dinner. And quite simply, you could reply, I am a or I am an, depending on your occupation. For me, I would say that I am a teacher. You may ask to give your address. Now, your address is the location of your house, where you live. It's usually made up with numbers, words, and postcodes, which are numbers. And quite simply, my address is. Now, you're going to need to give your whole address. So the house number, the name of the street, the area in which you live, the postcode, the city, and maybe even the state. So there's lots of information that you're going to need to recall if you're going to be giving your address. They might ask you, what is your phone number? Now, you're going to need to remember this. It doesn't look so good when you go, hold on, I don't really know my phone number, let me just check. It's a good idea to have your phone number in your head. If you don't have it by now, keep practicing and you'll soon be able to repeat it without any problems. Quite simply, my phone number is. How old are you? I am 58 years old. Are you married or single? So usually people won't ask, do you have a girlfriend? They will quite simply ask, are you married or single in a formal setting? However, in a social environment, you may be asked, do you have a girlfriend or a significant partner? And finally, you're going to be asked, what are your hobbies and interests? What are the things that you like to do? Well, for me, it would be training mixed martial arts, walking with my dog, and reading lots and lots of books. So you can reply with I enjoy and the things that you like. Now, if we look at these questions and we look at these answers, they're incredibly formal. We wouldn't be saying every single one of these words in different types of situations. There will be a lot of abbreviation happening. So for example, somebody might not ask you what's your first name. They might simply ask what's your name. And again, in this situation, we don't have to say my name is. We can just simply say the name. So for example, you might hear someone to say, what's your name? You can quite simply reply, Carl. Where are you from? Again, you can use short answers. I'm from England. Where do you live? In Mexico. What do you do? I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I'm a doctor. What is your address? My address is... Now all of these can be omitted. What is your address? My address, 114, and you continue on. However, if somebody says, what is your address? I don't have to say, my address is. We need to be able to assess the kind of situation that we're in order to choose the right language. So that concludes our look at asking for and giving for personal information. If you have any comments, leave them in the section below and I'll be excited to read them, and I'll see you in the next class.